It's important to properly dispose of unwanted medication or sharps. MedProject offers free and convenient disposal options near you. To learn more, call 844-MedProject or visit medproject.org.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Join us as we seek the truth and travel the long road to justice. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi Fruit Loop. What you know?
It's dead silence. I don't even know. I don't even know.
What do you know? Anything?
I know nothing. I'm going to be Schultz off of Hogan's Heroes. Classic show. I know nothing. Yeah.
Oh man,
Ooh,
it's cold here still.
Look, you see these things right here? You see these things? These little candies?
Oh, my grandpa used to carry those. Y'all, I need a haircut and a color.
I love those candies.
Well, we want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Too Cool T-Shirt Quilts. You can go to toocooltshirtquilts.com/prettyliesandalibis. Check her out. We will be doing our True Crime Feud this Saturday. The cutoff is when to register for
Friday.
All right. So register for a team by Friday. Whoever has chosen the winning team has a chance to win a custom T-shirt pillow, as you can see behind me if you're on YouTube, from Too Cool T-Shirt Quilts. So we're really excited about that. 7:30 this Saturday. We're going to jump in. We have a lot to do today. So real quick, we had the hearing today that essentially was for Mark Means. Did you get to watch?
I did not.
Okay. Well, it was a lot of back and forth. Essentially, I can sum it up really quickly. But before I do, Archibald, right at the very beginning when the feed comes on, he says, "Lori, can you hear?" And he informed everybody that she was listening in from the state mental hospital. He said that's where she currently is. So I think he let it slip that she is at the state mental hospital. That's what he said. Speaking of which, a lot of people have already asked, if she's incompetent, why can she watch? Lori Hellis, if you don't subscribe to her newsletter, do it now. I put it on Twitter and Facebook. In her last newsletter, she explained that Lori actually can participate as much as she's able to. So it's not like she's forbidden from talking to Archibald. It's not like she's forbidden from watching these hearings. As much as she's able to do, she can. So that's how that works. So essentially what happened today is Judge Boyce ruled that the order that the prosecution filed back in July ordering people who has access to discovery in this case, don't run and tell it. Okay, essentially that still applies to Mark Means. Archibald objected because it kind of is a blanket order. And the way I understand it is if they kept that order the way it was, he would technically be breaking that order if he were to use his staff to say transcribe something. They do have access to this discovery. So Judge Boyce said that he would go back and modify the order so that Archibald's hands aren't tied, essentially, in having his staff or whoever assist him if they were to come across the sensitive information. So that's really what happened. Argued for the state. She did a great job. I really like her.
Oh, yeah.
And we are having some issues.
Yeah, you're choppy.
Yeah, you're choppy. Your mama's choppy.
On my end, you're choppy.
All right. Okay, on my end, you're choppy. It's you. A quick update. Fitz News says they've been told by reliable sources that there is physical evidence directly tying Alec Murdaugh to the murders of Paul and Maggie. That's a big deal.
Oh, yeah. Because that's been the question the whole time.
And I think it's one of those things that I'm not shocked, but it's kind of like when Mark Means got booted off the case. You kind of know it's coming at some point or you expect it. But then when you read it, it's like, whoa, holy moly, this is happening.
Yeah. You kind of in your mind think, okay, don't go there. Like, don't be that person. But in the end, I mean, we all wondered, either did he hire somebody? Was it a hit because he owed somebody money? Or did he play a hand in it?
Right. And we don't know if there's anybody else that they're looking at, but I wouldn't be surprised. But the way I read it is that it seems as if he was there when it happened, probably did it. We know that one of the guns was a family gun that was used in the murder. So there you go. We're going to keep an eye on that. Now, I'm going to tell you, Fruit Loop, I was sorting socks in my room the other day because, I have like 2 laundry baskets full of just single socks. And I decided finally, okay, I'm going to go through these, pair them. If they don't have a pair, they're getting tossed. And I turned on Law and Crime Network and literally started watching this Chandler Halderson trial. I hadn't heard of the case before. I think I may have, come across it, but didn't really read heavily. And so I'm sitting there sorting my socks. I found about 4 pair. And before I knew it, 30 minutes had passed and I'm just engrossed in these openings. So I texted you and I said, we have a good trial that's happening right now that I want to cover.
Yeah.
So we are going to give you a little background information. Chandler Halderson, this is in Wisconsin. He's 23 and he's charged with the first degree intentional homicide, mutilating and hiding a corpse, and false information on kidnapped or missing persons in the murder of his parents, Bart and Krista Halderson. That happened over July 4th last year. So it's a really new case.
Yeah.
And he was arrested on July 8th and bond was set at $1 million. So the trial started on Monday. This is a very involved thing to do, to kind of live take notes on a trial. I really love, this is my jam right here. So we're going to be, what?
I just want to say the judge in this case, his voice is so cool.
I want him to read me bedtime stories.
Yes. Like he could read children's books and stuff. He is so cool.
And he's really fair. Like so far he seems like an amazing judge. I really like him. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
We're going to be tonight. We're just going to go through the openings in this case. There's a good bit to cover. The prosecution laid out so much. This was an amazing opening statement by the prosecution. They hit it out of the park. Totally left no room for doubt. I mean, I hate to say that at the beginning of a trial, but they laid out so much. The defense, oh boy, they got an uphill battle. So what we're going to do tonight, the openings tomorrow, we're going to do a double episode of day 1 and 2 testimony. It's just going to take me a little while to catch up watching this live because I'm watching the whole 8 hours a day. So we may be a day or two behind on this, but I promise you guys, this is a really good case to follow. Also, the Harmony Montgomery case we're going to look into, do an episode on. This is the girl who wasn't reported missing for 2 years. The dad was arrested last night and is being held on a charge of essentially hitting her and causing a black eye a couple of years ago, but it does not look promising with some of the stuff that's come out today. And so
we're still looking at the Delphi case. So
yeah, we just we got
a lot of info.
Yeah, I was gone for a bunch of hours today, so I'm just playing catch up. So we have a lot that we want to cover, which is good because other than this hearing today, things are kind of quiet everywhere else. We've got a little bit of news here and there, but nothing that would even fill a whole episode. So I'm really glad that we found this case and we've got some others in the works. So the trial started on Monday and they're saying it's going to take 2 weeks, but I'm going to tell you, if the defense doesn't start cross-examining people, it's not going to take that long. They really have not cross-examined anybody. But let's get to the opening by the prosecution and you'll see why. Maybe there's not much they can cross-examine on. So Bart and Krista have 2 sons, Chandler and Mitchell. Chandler, who is the one who's on trial, he was still living at home, but Mitchell had moved out and has a job doing IT work. He's engaged, living a very adult life. And so the events in this case took place from July 1st through the 8th of last year. So on July 1st, between 3 and 5 p.m., the prosecution says Chandler murdered his parents. And the prosecutor says to remember this date, that he has a calendar to show the jury, and that comes in later.
So a week later, July 7th, 2021, Chandler walks into the sheriff's office and wanted to file a missing persons report. He tells deputies that his parents haven't returned from their family cabin, which is a couple of hours north of there. He said he helped them pack and he didn't know if they went with anyone. He said their cars were at the house, and when asked what he helped them pack, he said bottles of liquor and lots of money, tools, and silver bars. That's a long list, right?
Yeah, he's full of, it's hogwash. Let's just say it.
Yeah. He told detectives that his parents left in an unknown car with an unknown couple, an unknown amount of money for an unknown reason. It's a lot of unknowns.
Mm-hmm.
He says he heard from his mom in a text, made it safely, can't get anything through, and yes, it's packed. Going to White Lake today for that parade and will be home Monday night or Tuesday early. Love you lots. Detectives talked to Bart and Krista's coworkers who said they were never no-shows for work. Investigators started looking into Chandler. He told them he was a college student about to graduate with an IT degree. He was working from home at an insurance company. He had just gotten a job with SpaceX in Titusville, where he and his girlfriend were going to move. They had bought a car and had a place to live. He also he was injured. He had a head injury. Police weren't initially suspicious of him. Police theorized that Bart and Krista and the unknown couple were in a car crash between the cabin and home. They sent deputies and found it looked like nobody had been to the cabin. It was run down. The grass was tall. No food in the refrigerator. Nobody had been there. Police start talking to people who were with Chandler that weekend, specifically his girlfriend, Kat, who says she was with him all weekend at her family farm.
Yeah. So he was having leg issues because of his concussion and asked to use this family member's pool the next day, saying it would be good therapy for his legs. Keep in mind, he really didn't know these people very well. So police go to talk to the people who own the farm, and they do confirm that he was there for the 4th, and the next day he did show up by himself. The homeowner said he was acting bizarre and saying he had a doctor's appointment where he got bad news, and said he was going to lose this job at SpaceX because he couldn't travel to attend the orientation. So then he asked if he could use the pool, and she said yes. So the lady went back in her house and stayed in there for about an hour, and then she goes to check on him in the pool, and he wasn't in there. And he hadn't been in the pool because it wasn't uncovered. So she sees his car parked out in the field away from the pool. They have a farm, so it's a lot of open fields and then a wooded area. The car had the hatch open. And she thought it was strange, but she kind of thought he was on a walk maybe. So she went in the pool and started swimming. And then she sees Chandler come out of this wooded area on her farm. Lord have mercy. So she shows investigators exactly where he came out of. And the investigator looked up in the air and saw vultures. So dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Yep.
Police walk 20 yards into the woods, and under a pile of debris, they find the torso of his dad, Bart. They said that the legs were sawed off in the middle of the thigh, and that part of his pants and his underwear was still on the torso. When the medical examiner arrived and rolled that torso over, there were shots in the back. So investigators put drones up in the air, and cadaver dogs were put out in the fields. So a detective sees a garbage can in the woods full of tarp, and testing later confirmed it was Bart and Krista's blood all over it. They also see an oil barrel or an old fuel tank right behind where Chandler was parked. And an investigator looked inside and saw broken saw blades, hand saws, scissors, tree loppers. And they tested the items, which also had Bart and Krista's flesh and blood on them.
The prosecutor says things were still being found on this farm as late as last fall. In October of 2021, the homeowner was cleaning a barn about 100 yards from where Bart's torso was found and found a rifle behind a bunch of boards. Police bring Chandler in and ask him and his girlfriend to come downtown. They separate them. Chandler meets with police over an hour and tells the story of the mystery couple with their parents. Kat is vomiting information to police. He said she provided pictures and info to them. She didn't think Chandler did anything, and she had watched crime shows knowing they needed to rule them out first. So she's innocent, right?
Yeah, she's just kind of I forgot what he called her. It's an unknowing accomplice, essentially.
Gotcha. And didn't think he had anything to do with it. Kat meets with police multiple times and tells investigators that one day she left the house early on July 3rd and said Chandler said he was going to do chores, but she saw on Snapchat that he was in an odd spot. She took a screenshot at 8:58 in the morning when she was supposed to be doing chores. He was in a forest on the banks of the Wisconsin River. Police recognized the location and put drones up in the air and put out the cadaver dogs. They found Krista's remains, specifically her legs, one complete leg, a foot, a thigh, all in separate locations around that area. In talking to ex-girlfriends and friends, they said Chandler loved this spot on the river and went frequently. He said it was a secret swimming spot he would take friends to. A friend showed investigators a picture of Chandler hanging from a tree. An investigator thought the tree looked familiar, and they realized it's where he put his mother's remains about 100 feet away from that same tree.
Yeah, they took a picture. So they showed the picture of him dangling from the tree. And then the next picture, you see the tree, but in the distance, you see that white crime scene tent.
Yeah. So Chandler had given media interviews on his front lawn about his parents being missing to local media. He asked neighbors if they had cameras. Some of the neighbors were so weirded out that they secretly recorded the conversations with Chandler. One was a detective who had just retired a month earlier.
Yeah. And I just watched his testimony today. And he recorded it on his phone. He just said that he knew roughly what was happening with the parents. So when Chandler came to his house, he just put on his, Apple has that app where you can make voice recordings. And the whole thing was played in court. It was great. So they searched his phone to see what he was doing that weekend, and they found the phone didn't have much activity until they went into what was deleted. So he Googled, this reminded me of Lori after Brandon was shot. He Googled body found Wisconsin, woman's body found, Wisconsin dismembered body found, dead body found in Wisconsin, body found in Milwaukee River, that kind of thing. So, but at that point, Chandler did not know that they were beginning to find his parents' remains. So the amount of police that was in the neighborhood at this point was increasing. So he called police officers asking why there's more police in his neighborhood. And one officer records him and Chandler says, "What's going on? Did you find something?" So he Googled the state versus Peter Capuzza. It's a case where a man dismembered his family and threw the bodies in a river. It actually ended up in the Court of Appeals on technicalities. And the prosecutor said the reason he was Googling that was to avoid today, which is the opening of his trial. So the police were thrown off of the text message from Krista that she sent to Chandler. She sent that on July 4th. But it came from her phone. So they started looking into that text a little better. And the parade for White Lake was on July 3rd, not the 4th, because last year the 4th fell on a Sunday. And so a lot of people they had their celebrations on Saturday.
Yep.
During a search of the home, they found her phone in the garage under a shelf, wrapped in aluminum foil in a shoe, along with her driver's license. And when the phone records were sent to investigators, they found the text was sent from their home on July 4th. And Chandler obviously had sent it to himself.
Moron.
Okay, so here's where it gets good. The story about him being a college graduate, fake. Studying renewable resource energy, fake. He never worked for the insurance company. He never was hired by SpaceX. He also had told people he was working for the Madison police on the rescue diving team. That was a lie. And the head injury was a lie. So none of it was true. This guy had been living this pretend life for years to his family. So
That's
police,
crazy.
So that really got their interest, and they started looking into everything, saying he essentially catfished his whole family. So Bart, his dad, was an accountant and questioned why Chandler never had money, even though he worked at this insurance company. And Chandler would make all these excuses saying, I'm salary, but they paid me hourly and held my paycheck until they fixed it. Then he said he gave them the wrong direct deposit information. And then he said that they owed him was so much that when they tried to deposit it, the bank thought it was fake.
So Chandler, I'm just dumbfounded.
No, me too. Do you see why I stopped folding socks now?
Yeah. So Chandler had sent emails back and forth to himself pretending to be human resources and would forward those to his dad as proof of why he didn't have any money. The email address was generic and the HR guy misspelled resources. As Smart means working.
I mean, he works for human resources. This fake guy works for human resources and he misspells resources.
Yeah. So Bart was working from home as Chandler supposedly was. Chandler would get up and sit on his computer all day playing video games. He liked role-playing games and would play with a guy in the military station in Germany. His name was Andrew Smith. They grew close playing the game. Andrew said Chandler liked SKS rifles. Andrew came to visit Chandler and stays with him and his parents. Andrew had got out of the military and is a gun enthusiast. And when he came to visit, he brought Chandler one as a gift. When he gave the gun to Chandler, he wanted to document it. So he took a picture of the serial number of the gun and Chandler's driver's license photo side by side. He also left 400 rounds of high-powered ammo. It was the same gun found in the barn 100 yards from Bart's body. He is not a suspect. He was in Texas at the time of the murders. So Chandler's dad was on Chandler's case about not getting paid at his job. In May into June of 2021, Chandler said he was going to work at SpaceX, which we talked about. He emailed his girlfriend and said he got the job. Dude, he's just living a double life.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
it's insane. Like, I folded 4 pair of socks literally, and I just sat there among unmatched socks for an hour watching these openings.
Yeah, so he was going to train the following week online and report to the job June 11th. He told her he got a new car and a place to live for them, and she agreed to go. In late June,
by the way, the car and the place to live never existed either.
Wow. In late June, when he was supposed to start the fake job at SpaceX, his brother gets sick and was hospitalized and diagnosed with diabetes. That was true, right?
That was true. The brother's straight up. Like, he's a normal functioning adult and doing everything that he should to make a living. So a week later, and the prosecutor made a note that Krista doted over her boys. And so when his brother Mitchell got diabetes, mom's fawning over him, doting over him, taking care of him. So a week later, Chan's up in the hospital with a supposed neck injury. And they show a photo of Chandler on Father's Day with his dad and his brother Mitchell, and Chandler's in a neck brace. So Chandler had told people that he had this brain bleed. Okay, I'm just going to tell you. He had a brain. He told people he had a brain bleed, a hematoma, spinal damage. He said he needed his head drilled open. He couldn't use his legs well. He couldn't drive. He had nerve damage and said he needed a colostomy bag, and he was unable to fly on an airplane. I mean, my gosh. Look, he told everybody he fell down the stairs. The doctor's like, mild concussion. There's a neck brace if you need it. So the prosecutor said later in the trial, he'll show Chandler was being doted on. People were bringing him meals. His mom would leave him these notes of encouragement. Show a picture of Chandler in a neck brace, and then right beside it, they show a picture of him taken in a convenience store a few days later, carrying these huge bags of ice that were used to chill the remains of his father, which was in a freezer in the house. He had no neck brace on in the stores, by the way. He's never seen in the neck brace again after July 1st, which is the day that he murdered his parents. And Chandler had told everyone that he attended MATC for college and was supposed to graduate soon. And the prosecutor says that we'll hear all about him going there for a semester where he flunked out. He said there's a hint of truth to some of these lies, but clearly they're just too big. So his parents started to grow suspicious. And when investigators searched the house, they found printed emails of Bart's on his desk. And one of those emails was between Bart and Krista regarding a conversation that Bart had with one of Chandler's supposed advisors. And the email says Chandler was enrolled in fall semester, was an IT major, and all of these things indicate Chandler was a current student. Investigators noticed in the email, Bart said he had talked to this person on the phone and noted in the email it sounded just like Chandler on the phone. There was also a number he was given to call to physically talk to this person. So the advisor obviously was Chandler, and the phone number was from a burner phone that he had purchased, which was found in Chandler's drawer in his room.
This is crazy.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you.
For me, that would be so draining to cover up.
Yeah, I mean,
just tell the truth and don't kill anybody.
Exactly. I mean, it's like he just didn't want to work. He didn't want to do anything, obviously, other than play video games and hang out with his girlfriend. And his parents are like, okay, why aren't you paying rent? You're 20-something years old. So anyways.
Crazy. So there were hundreds of forged emails Chandler had written as if he was an advisor, and Chandler would forward those to his dad. They were from Gmail and not a college account, which you know as well as I do. All college stuff comes from a .edu or college, whatever. He would often misspell names on emails from the same person. In one email, he acted angry, saying he had been a student for over 3 years and wanted a call within 30 minutes from someone. He was pretending to get a transcript. The prosecutor says he was yelling at himself. Police looked at the email again where Bart thought he talked to Chandler's advisor, and they saw the name Omar Joby or Job. Mm-hmm. That name wasn't fake. It stood out because it was real. It was handwritten by Bart. A day and a half before the murder, on June 29th, Bart called MATC and pretended to be Chandler to try and get information on what was going on. For 17 minutes, Bart talked to Omar, who is an entry-level customer service guy at MATC, which was recorded. Omar doesn't remember the call. Bart questions Omar and is aggressive at first, thinking Chandler was actually a student there, questioning why Chandler hadn't graduated, why he can't get a transcript. But towards the end of the call, he asked if any of the people named in the fake emails worked there, and he was told they do not. Bart says, "That'll be it then," and hangs up. Bart sends a text message to Chandler that sealed his fate, saying, "I talked to Omar. What happened after that is unknown up to the murder." The prosecutor says, "Remember when I told you to remember July 1st between 3 and 5 p.m. when Chandler killed his parents?" Bart's work calendar had something interesting on it. He was supposed to have a meeting with staff at MATC with Chandler.
Yep. So I think that's motive, clearly.
Oh, yeah.
So Chandler knew at that point the game was up. So July 1st at 7:26 a.m., he messages Kat, his girlfriend, "I hardly slept." At 7:27, he texts her, "Stuff hasn't really been going well for me lately, so I'm trying to plan for the next thing to F me over." And at 7:51, "Yeah, I just had a great future planned and it's falling apart." At 1:04, this is before the murders, but you can tell he's planning it. "I overheard they might go to the cabin with their friends, but I don't know." So an hour and 10 minutes after he sent that message to Kat, Bart's getting ready to go to the meeting. And at 2:10, Bart texts Chandler, "I'm ready whenever you are." And those are the last words ever heard from Bart. Again, he never uses his phone after that. So after this, at some point, Bart is shot in the back. And when that's over, Chandler sends a text to his mom, "Dad's phone died. Text her, call me, and get soda on your way home. I have an extra hour of work." And so his mom responds, "Okay, I can," and puts a smiley face. So just after 5 p.m., a neighbor's security camera shows Krista, the mom, pull in the driveway and go into the house. Prosecutor says she's never seen again until her legs are found by the river. So just after killing his parents, Chandler went on his phone to the Notes app on his iPhone and created a note at 5:11 p.m. So we know she gets home at 5. 11 minutes later, she's dead. And it says weekend chores. H2O2 lemon. So H2O2 is hydrogen peroxide, which cleans up blood, and lemon is a deodorizer.
Mm-hmm.
Door handles, move your crap upstairs, get a job, clean the floor. And prosecutors say he spends the whole afternoon cleaning up the house after the murders. He takes a shower in which he FaceTimed his girlfriend in the shower. So they know that he talked to her. He goes to the gas stations and buys the large bags of ice because he had dismembered his parents and put them in freezers inside the house. That night, Chandler, or at some point, he used saw blades and axe, handsaws, and other stuff to dismember them. He had planned to burn the remains in the family fireplace on July 1st, and the neighbors noticed smoke and thought it was odd because it's July and you got the fireplace going. And
yeah.
And one neighbor, I'm not trying to be funny, but literally they said it smelled like a pig roast. They thought somebody was just having a pig roast. Oh my gosh.
That's horrible. So that night, a neighbor behind their home had a security camera picked up a glimpse of a window in the house by the fireplace. The light would flicker on and off and grew and got bright in one room. The kitchen light came on and the lights all went out. The fire got out of control because of the human fat, and Chandler threw water on it. A glass panel was shattered. In a search of the home, the fireplace was cleaned out. What stuck out to police was something that looked like a rock that an anthropologist said was a human skull. He burned his parents' heads in the fireplace. Police found facial and knee bones in the ash trap of the fireplace. The next day at 7:21 a.m., he goes to buy a tarp. Kat was supposed to spend the night that evening. He was asking her to bring peroxide and a Swiffer mop for a cut on his toe. This guy is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
July 3rd, Kat leaves at 7 a.m. and Chandler leaves shortly after to go to the dump, but it was closed since it was the weekend of the 4th. He drove to the Wisconsin River to scatter Krista's remains. He spends the rest of the day with Kat and getting dinner with friends. I bet she feels like, ugh.
Yeah, because the prosecutor made clear that she had a really good relationship with his parents, other than just your typical, little arguments that would pop up here and there. But yeah, I mean, he made very clear she knew nothing.
Yeah. So at 11 p.m., cell tower show Chandler along the banks of the Wisconsin River. July 4th, spends the day with his girlfriend and her family, goes to the farm to use the pool and eat dinner. That's what we talked about earlier. He asked to come back and use the pool alone. Sends text to himself from his mom's phone and goes to a firework party with Krista's coworkers and friend. July 5th, takes the garbage out, goes to the farm to use the pool. Says he got bad news at his follow-up appointment at the doctor for the concussion. Cell and medical records say he never went that day. He hides Bart's torso in the woods, which we talked about. July 6th, between 1 and 4 a.m., the garage light is turned on 7 different times for an average of 6 minutes each time. The garage is where they found the tools used to dismember his parents. So he spends an hour driving around the city of Madison at 4:30 a.m.
Yep, and he spends the evening with his girlfriend, and people at this point on the 6th start questioning about his parents. And his girlfriend was most worried. She really was super worried about them. So the next day on July 7th, he drives back to the farm and throws a bag of bloody rags in their garbage can. And at 11:22 a.m., he texts his girlfriend that he's going to the police. So what they found was the bag that the rags were in, it was a Target bag that Kat had gotten at curbside pickup to get the hydrogen peroxide he had asked for. Her name was on the outside of the bag. And July 8th at 9:45 a.m. is when he's Googling the body found in Wisconsin. He goes door to door to his neighbors' homes asking if they have security cameras. And at 4 p.m., he's asked to give a recorded statement to police at their office. At 6:41, Chandler is arrested. And the prosecutor is just telling the jury they took over 5,000 photographs in this case. They may see 200. And he says they're terrible, obviously. So the defense, I mean, coming after that, I'm not dissing this defense attorney because how do you defend that? Essentially, she opens and says he didn't murder his parents. He's not guilty of these crimes. He's 23, likes to play video games, play with his dog, hang out with his girlfriend, and said that he lived peacefully at his parents' house. She says, so what happened? She said, that won't be answered in this trial. She said, you have to decide if the state proved Chandler killed his parents. They told you what they think happened. And she said, we've heard a lot of detail before and after, but there's a gap of evidence when it comes to that time frame. And really, she spent the rest of the time talking about as a first-year law student, she looked at things emotionally. And by the time she left, she looked at things logically. And she said, as jurors, that's their job. And she said, don't assume anything because assumption is the mother of all mistakes. And she said, you have to presume Chandler is innocent because he fits under the benefit of that presumption. And she said, presuming his innocence isn't easy when you see evidence like what you will see. And that was literally her opening. I mean, it was super quick. The prosecution took over an hour. She was 15 minutes, maybe. So that's the openings for both sides. And it, you know, I've watched yesterday and today's witnesses. It gets better, y'all.
Dude, I would have just said he didn't kill his parents. Okay, that's it.
I mean, she was like, that's not going to be answered. I mean, she basically told him, you're not going to, in other words, we got nothing. Let me just stand up here and do the best I can as his defense attorney. And I mean, I've watched yesterday and today, and they have barely cross-examined any of the witnesses.
Yeah.
Barely. There's a lot of photos. They're very, very graphic. Law and Crime is airing this in its entirety. Court TV is too. I watch Law and Crime just because it's straight through. There's no commercials or anything. So I'm really excited to, it's not a whodunit. You know, it's not even like this is a mystery of did he do it? It's just the case is so crazy in what he created around himself for years. And then when it became clear he had led everybody, you know, astray about what he was doing with his life, he panics and murders his parents and dismembers them and spreads their body and makes up some stupid story about, well, they left really early that morning. I was still asleep. I don't know who they left with. So they have called his brother. They've called friends of Krista and Bart's, and it's just a really intriguing story. So we're going to cover this until there's a verdict. I'm into it, y'all. I love covering live trials, and I think maybe this year we'll start getting back to doing that some, just because it's, you know, it's daily and there's updates and it's not a lot of speculation about what's happening with Lori. You know what I mean? I just kind of miss doing live trials. So I think this was an interesting one to start the year out with. So that's all for today. Tomorrow, we're going to summarize day 1 and 2 testimony, let you guys know what happened, who testified, what they're saying. And so follow along for this one, guys. It's a really good one. Share the podcast, subscribe on YouTube, and
hit the little bell so you get notifications.
That's right. Ring our bell.
Yeah.
All right, guys. You can also go where, Fruit Loop?
www.prettyliesandalibis.org.
Yes, you can. We're still working on that website. We're going to get it up and running and jamming. So, all right, guys, we appreciate you. We will be back tomorrow with a double episode of this crazy Chandler Halderson trial.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.